what we're going to do is put buttons and buttonholes on a garment. What I have here is I've got my two sides, so I've got the right side and the left side. Girls always fasten right over left, and the saying is girls are always right. So what you've got to think about is, where's your centre front? My centre front line, I've tacked a line in. You should always know where your centre front is, and you should always tack it in. On the right side, I've marked up my buttonholes. The position of the buttonholes, the best to think about it is, there's my centre front line, my buttonhole will overshoot that by 1/2 centimetre. A good positioning from a centre front line for a button and buttonhole is a standard 1.5. But another way to think about it is the size of my button plus 1 centimetre, because we never want a button to be right on the edge. So to create the buttonhole, first we need to put on the buttonhole foot, which is an A3 on this Bernina. They're quite difficult to get on. You've got to tilt them and then they'll slot on. To set your buttonhole, you will go to 0. So you're good to go. What you have to think about now is the size of the buttonhole. I've worked my buttonholes out already. My buttonholes are 2 centimetres. How I worked that out was measured my button, and then I added on another 5 mils. The reason you add 5 mils on is so that you can then, well, it's just so the button can get through the buttonhole and to allow for the shank. So I'm all good to go. So we've got a little slider on the foot here, and it's got measurements down the side. So we just go with 2 centimetres. So we then place there's a little, where it has 0, there's a little hole there, and that's exactly where you need to drop the foot down on your mark that you've made for your buttonhole to begin. So, we should be good to go. This machine will automatically do the buttonhole. When I get to 2 centimetres, I will press reverse, and then it will finish the buttonhole for me. And that's your buttonhole complete. So the next thing we've got to do, we'll cut away our threads. Always cut your threads away, because actors will just pull them. Any excuse not to wear the costume sometimes. The next thing we're going to do is cut the buttonhole. Now the best thing to do is take a pin, and you're going to pin it in and out at the side of the buttonhole, just where the bar is at the top. We're sort of protecting that bar. We'll just do the same on the other side, and then we'll take our button slicer and we'll just slide it in between the zigzag stitches. Whoa, if I can get it in. And then you've just got to carefully, slowly stop at the pin, and what that pin does is stops the slicer going right through and slicing through the front of your jacket, blouse, whatever it may be. So there's my button cut. They always look a little bit messy to start with. You can just loosen some threads and just cut them away, just because they catch quite a bit as well. But they never look lovely to start with. So next thing to do is lay if you want to line up your centre fronts, and then if you just take a pin where your centre front line is, just line them up, put it through where your centre front line is, because then we've got our couple of mils we needed, and then we'll just take the buttonhole off, and that's our position for our button. So then, sewing the button on, don't forget we always use 4 threads, so we double it, thread it double, and it's all for strength, so the button stays on. So I will now just start, I'll just anchor thread. It's always a bit rough to start with, but just because you've got so many threads. I'm just I had a little loop, so I'm just looping it through that to catch it. I'll just take that down a bit. Do another stitch. We never knot, never. Just knots on a button is horrible, horrible, horrible. And we're using lots of threads, so we really don't want all that bulk. So the next thing to do is just, this has already got a shank on it, this button, I should say. So I'm just going to start, I'll just tilt the button and I can just quickly start sewing it on. Because we've got 4 threads, we'll go through a few times, and it's like double the speed you would normally put a button on. Plus it's going to be really sturdy and strong. So I'm going through a good few times. So I've probably got about 15 layers of thread in that. So the next thing to do is to just finish it off, and the best way to finish it off is just go through the button a few times, take it to the back, and just do a few more anchor stitches. I'm just going to loop it at the end. Pull tight. Trim off. So then when we lay that on, fasten it up, there we go. Perfectly lined up with our lines. Things to watch for. If your buttonhole is too big, what you can do, a real cheat is just slice it smaller. Don't slice the whole button. Maybe start a bit further back if you just made it too long by mistake. That's completely fine. It's always best to slice them a little bit less than you think you need anyway.